G'day, welcome to the Let's Thrive Show. I'm your host, Ian Anderson, and this is a show where I share tips and information about how you can create a life of thriving. In today's episode, I'm going to share information about mindsets and the type of mindset that it requires for you to be able to make meaningful and sustainable change in your life to move toward health, happiness, success, that life of thriving. Now, if you haven't listened to the first two episodes, I recommend you do that. In the first episode, I talk about what thriving is, and in the second episode, I talk about why well-being is the foundation of thriving. But as I said, today we're going to focus on mindsets. So let's dive straight in. The way that we think, feel, perceive things really dictates our ability to achieve success. The way in which our mind operates can be the difference between giving up or persevering through challenge. And there's really two main types of mindsets. Now, you can find a variety of different mindsets. If you Google online, there's all sorts of different types of mindsets. But really, there's two basic ones. And these were identified by researcher Carol Dweck. There's fixed and there's growth. Fixed mindset suggests that we are who we are. Nothing is going to change. I am who I am sort of mindset. It means that what is now is what will always be. A growth mindset is accepting what is true for the moment, but not necessarily saying that is what it has to be for the future. Understanding that things can change, they can be adaptable, they can be flexible. And when we put that in perspective of ourselves, we're looking at the difference between somebody who says, I can't do math. Mathematics, I can't do it. Very fixed mindset. It means that the knowledge of mathematics that you have right now is all that you will ever attain. But a growth mindset, on the other hand, might be, well, I can't do this type of mathematics yet. It's not something that I understand yet. Leaving the possibility and that understanding that change is something that is possible. I can be adaptable, I can be flexible, I can learn new things, I can grow. And when we put this in the context of thriving, it's essential to have a growth mindset. As I mentioned in the first episode, the definition of thriving is that continual pursuit for health, happiness, and success, or the continual pursuit to be your best self. Now, to continually pursue something or continually work on something, you must assume that it can be better than what it is right now. Otherwise, why continue to pursue it? Why do you continue to work out if you believe you're as fit as you'll ever be, or as thin as you'll ever be, or as healthy as you'll ever be? Well, you believe things can change. That is an example of a growth mindset. And a growth mindset is so powerful because in order for us to achieve things, in order for us to be able to change, we must first believe that we can change. If we do not believe that we can change, if we do not believe our circumstances can change, then we have beaten ourselves. We've beaten ourselves in our minds before we even got started. And so there has to be an element of that self-belief and that belief that things can change. So growth mindset, essential to thriving. Now, if you put that into the context of the 8 pillars of well-being, which is the foundation of thriving, as I talked about in episode 2, then we need to be able to look at all 8 of those pillars and believe that the state that we currently experience for each of those, or the relationship that we currently have with each of those pillars of well-being, can change. And when we believe that, then we can start to create a strategy for that change. We can start to explore what change looks like, what our optimum state for each pillar is, and how we can achieve that. So we can look at our physical state. What is our current relationship with that? What is our current state of physical well-being? Now, what is optimal and how do we get there? Okay, if we're not currently in an optimal state of physical well-being, then now we're saying, well, change is possible. Let's create a strategy to try and boost that in a more positive direction. And you can do that with every single pillar of well-being. But the one that you should start on, and then this is going to be the topic for our next podcast episode, is starting with purpose. So spiritual well-being, it was the last one I mentioned in the list of 8 in the last episode. But your spiritual well-being is about having a sense of meaning and purpose, being connected to something bigger than yourself, and being able to find fulfillment in that. When we think about starting a journey toward a lifestyle of thriving, it is important to start with the purpose. So first, get the mindset to where you believe change can happen, where you believe you can adapt, where you can learn, you can grow, you can be flexible, that change is possible. That's number one. But the first step to applying the 8 pillars is through your spiritual well-being. It's connecting with a sense of meaning and purpose. And as I said in the last episode, it's not about necessarily religion. For some people, it is exactly that. But for others, it might be their occupation. It might be their family. It could be a number of different things. You might find meaning and purpose in a number of different areas of your life, and that is fine. But what happens is when we can start with discovering what our sense of, or where we get a sense of meaning and purpose, what gives our life purpose, where we can start there, then and try to define what that looks like, try to explore what our purpose is and how we can achieve that, then that will define how we approach each of the other pillars. So when we consider what your purpose is, then your optimal state of physical well-being, emotional well-being, social well-being, intellectual, occupational, environmental, financial, and so on, the optimum state for each of those pillars of well-being is going to feed into the purpose that you have defined. Okay, so number 1, growth mindset. Number 2 is go toward the purpose, trying to discover that purpose, and that takes a lot of personal reflection. It takes time to discover who you are, what your passions are, what your interests are, where you have skills and abilities, where you feel like you can serve others or serve a greater cause than just yourself, whether that is as part of an organization as an employee, or whether that is as part of your family. Wherever you find that sense of meaning and purpose, that's where we have to first shift our attention in order to give meaning to all of the other pillars, meaning and direction to all the other pillars. That's it for today's episode. So if you're going to take anything away from today, it is growth mindset. Believe change is possible. Believe that you can adapt, grow, learn, be flexible. And then that is going to provide the power for you to move forward on your journey toward thriving. As always, I'm Ian Anderson. If you do have any feedback or topic suggestions for future episodes, please feel free to email me on the email address in the description below. Otherwise, I'll see you here for the next episode. Take care.